Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. Liverpool have just beaten Watford by 1-0 at Vicarage Road, and in all honesty, it was a pretty poor game. It was pretty much no fun to watch. I don't think anyone enjoyed watching it. I said before the match that it probably wasn't going to be the most entertaining game in the world because Liverpool are just looking to grind out results at this stage, and Watford aren't really going to be up for it because they have pretty much nothing left to play for this season. But it sort of felt like a carbon copy of the 1-0 win against West Brom a couple of weeks ago, where it was simply about grinding out the result and getting the 3 points, because as I've said many times before on this channel, at this stage in the season it simply doesn't matter how Liverpool do it. If we want to get Champions League qualification, we just need to keep on getting 3 points, and it's nice to see that we have found a way to sort of grind out these results in a way that Liverpool haven't really in their previous games. So all in all, not the best performance in the world from the players really. I mean, the defence I was pretty disappointed with because they didn't really come under much pressure at all during the match, and when they did for the last 10 minutes or so, they didn't really look that secure, and we did concede that late chance where it did look like we were going to concede an equaliser and drop the 2 points, and it would be very disappointing, but fortunately that hit the bar. But the defence wasn't particularly good. Simon Mignolet, to his credit, played very well. He came out and collected a lot of crosses, didn't really have much to do in goal, but what he did have to do, he did pretty well and stopped us from coming under too much pressure, particularly towards the end of the game. The midfield was fairly steady, just kept things ticking over. The attack left little to be desired a lot of the time. Obviously we did suffer with the early injury to Felipe Coutinho, which meant that we were a little bit unbalanced. Obviously when Coutinho was injured earlier on in the season and Mane went to AFCON, we did try and use that front three of Origi, Lallana and Firmino, and it never really worked, and that showed in this game as well because they didn't really click. And obviously that has a lot to do with the fact that they hadn't really played together before this game at all. Lallana's only just come back, so credit to him for playing probably about 80 minutes of the match in the end and getting through it. And while he did miss that chance late on the counter-attack where perhaps if he'd been a little more fit and played a few more games he would have buried it, it was still very impressive for him to come through, and that means that hopefully we can rely on him to play the full 90 minutes and put in a decent performance in a week's time against Southampton. But the big talking point from the match is obviously the fantastic goal from Emre Can, and for me that kind of makes him man of the match, because in a game that was so short of quality and so short of really anything to be contributed from either players, all the players on either side, for him to come up with that moment of magic that Liverpool just desperately needed at that point in the game, because it did feel a little bit like it was slipping away from us. The first half felt a lot like a pre-season game. There was no real intensity. There didn't seem to be much desire to score, and then suddenly he comes up with a goal like that that really changes things and just sort of let us settle down a little bit more, and meant that the second half played out more really as a formality than what it could have been if he hadn't scored. I imagine it would have got very intense as Liverpool looked for a winner, but thankfully he does score that goal. It's a fantastic goal. It's absolutely sensational, and I think he does deserve that new contract, not just from goals like that, but from his influence in games like this when Liverpool are grinding out results, which they haven't done enough of in the past, and we hope they do a bit more next season if they're going to push for something like a Champions League, getting into the knockout stages of that, or trying to get the Premier League title next season. They're going to need to grind out more results than they have done this season. Emre Can looks like the kind of player to play in those games because he's strong, he moves the ball around fairly well, he likes these physical battles in midfield. He's not really a flair player, but he just gets the job done that's asked of him, a bit like Gini Wijnaldum as well. So to see the two of them do that so effectively in this game that sort of went under the radar a little bit because it was a game that was so low on quality that you didn't really pick up on small things like that. But for me, yeah, Emre Can, man of the match in that game. So in terms of the race for the top four, that is obviously an absolutely massive result for Liverpool, because it did look like a potential banana skin, you know, with all of our rivals playing before us, and with them having drop points, it felt like the pressure was still on us a little bit to try and capitalise on that, and thankfully we did, and that sort of takes the pressure off Liverpool a bit, and so hopefully we won't be feeling it as much next weekend. Man U have obviously got Arsenal, so hopefully we can expect them to drop points in those games. But yeah, I think now it really does look like Champions League should be a reality for Liverpool next season, and hopefully we can see out these last few games. Obviously it will be difficult for us to win the last three, especially the one coming up against Southampton, but with that kind of huge confidence boost and the fact that Adam Lallana will be coming back completely fit for those games, I think it's highly likely that Liverpool will be able to do it. So that's all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back in a few days to build up for the game against Southampton at Anfield. Until then, why not subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new around here, like the video if you enjoyed it, and follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter. Bye for now.